Hello, welcome. This morning we're doing more of the Hildibrand side quest, and yeah, let's get into it. I was wondering when you'd show up. The Temple Knights have deemed Ula fit to recount the events of her kidnapping, and have taken her into the room just beyond for questioning, with Blase to accompany for support. It would appear the questioning is done. Let us see what we might learn. Hell, my good man, I am Inspector Brereton, and this is my associate, Yo. I understand that you have spoken with Ula regarding her kidnapping. Is there aught you might share with us? Excuse me. Inspector Brereton, Mistress Yo, I fear that it would seem that Lady Ula knows even less of her own abduction than we do. As she tells it, the only people she saw during her captivity were two thugs now in our custody. We questioned them thrice over, but they insist their employer had disguised themselves so well they cannot even say for certain if they are man or woman, much less give us a description. For what little it's worth, we did learn that the two were once orphans, raised as charges of the sea, to betray the nation that fled and clothed them for a handful of coin. But I must return to my post. Should we come across anything of actual significance, I shall be sure to alert you. Blase, are there any details our friends may have neglected to mention? I fear Ula's testimony proved entirely unenlightening. There is another development, however, that has been troubling me. Rumors that Archmobaden was behind the abduction are circulating around this last site once more. Again with those asinine allegations. And this time the students seem convinced more than ever of his guilt, no longer consent to sit back and wait for events to take their course. They've been pushing for his expulsion. Theo has been doing his best to convince them to disregard the rumors, but it seems any mention of Archmobaden only serves to fuel their rage. I must hurry back and help him. I suspect that this is less a reflection on the prefect himself than a manifestation of aimless anxiety and fear. Still, I dare say this commotion might prove to be an opportunity in disguise. I shall make my way to the vault to continue my own investigations. In the meantime, I ask that you go and keep an eye on the Samaritans and an ear to the ground. And what if those ruffians truly were his employee? Are we to stand idly by until he betrays one of us as he did poor Ula? His refusal to provide us with anything resembling a reasonable explanation speaks for itself. The boy is guilty, and I say we move to have him expelled from the stalactite, effective immediately. Theomescent, I demand that you take the lead of this charge. Thank the fury, Kamyo. Since the headmistress called everyone away for an emergency meeting, it's been absolute chaos. They're so incensed they won't listen to a word Theo or I say. Perhaps if you were to speak with them, it would help soothe their angry feelings. There's no solid evidence against Archmobadin, just these vague rumors that keep making the rounds with all the resentment towards him, however. I guess that was all that was needed to indict him. So what if there's no proof that he had a hand in Ula's abduction? He's guilty of so much more than that. Just ask anyone who suffered under his reign of terror. I fear their anger will drive them to do something will forever regret. Please, can you try and talk some sense back into them? I'm sick of Archmobadin always pushing us around. If we don't take action now, what's to stop him from continuing to making our lives miserable, or worse? The frustration and anxiety that's been building ever since Ulas first went missing has finally come to surface, and for better or worse, it's all being directed at Archmobadin. Everyone, please calm yourself before we take drastic measures. Let us discuss the matter like rational men. One thing's for sure, if he didn't deserve it for this, he deserved it for something else. I think we should let the student body have him. Enough is enough. I refuse to tolerate his presence with these halls for even one more day. On second thought, I dare say you have the right of it. The prefect has the riches of House Desmal at his disposal, and powerful allies just waiting to spring to his aid. We must step back and consider our actions carefully, lest we find ourselves strung up by the necks. So you would suggest we do nothing? The longer we dither without taking action, the greater the risk of him finding us out. And when he does, he'll see every last one of us suffer for it, mark my words. He is frightened, as are we all, but that is precisely why we must proceed with caution. As you rightfully observed, if we act out of anger or despair, we only doom ourselves to failure. Please, man, if you would rally his spirits and have him calm mine own. My words will do little to console him. You composed manner and unwavering confidence, however, should go a long way to rally his spirits. With the wealth and influence, who knows what he could do to us? But of course, it's exactly as you say. Forgive me, my dear. My fear had forgotten the better of me. Indeed, there is little he can do to us if we act as one, and proceed with due caution. And remember, once Archmaubaden is removed from the school, the administration will keep us safe. So we need not fear his retribution ever again. We must move swiftly but surely to ensure his expulsion. Theomat, can we count on you to lead us? There is no point in worrying over things that have not and may never come to pass. If we proceed with due caution, there's not we need fear. Theomacent has a sharp mind as sharp as any in these halls. If he leads our charge, I am convinced that Archmaubaden will find himself without a leg to stand on. While everyone seems to have calmed down, it won't take much to set them off again. Even the mere mention of Archmaubaden's name would be enough. Thank you, Yo. I shudder to think what would have happened had you not been there to dissuade them from doing anything rash. Now that they've released their frustration, I hope we will be able to come together and find a way to resolve this predicament. You're the only one who can see to it that the prefect gets what he deserves. And not long ago, these self-same students would look down their noses at Theomacent while groveling at Archmaubaden's feet. Oh, how the tides have turned. Thank you. Yo, now that everyone is feeling more at ease, let us open the floor for discussion. I welcome any and all opinions, provided that they are delivered in a calm and orderly fashion. I believe there is just cause to expel Archmaubaden. As Yo was kind enough to point out, however, we should not act rashly. That is why you, Theomacent, with your calm demeanor, are best suited to head our appeal to have him removed. What say you? Given the way he's treated you in the past, I can understand why you readily assume the worst of him. I cannot help but believe, however, that he, too, is a victim in all of this. I strain to think that anyone who cares so deeply about the Scholasticate and its inhabitants could commit such an atrocity. Theo, for the Fury's sake, you would defend the very individual who, for the past several years, ridiculed and tortured us? Is it impossible for you to believe that he is capable of such villainy? Until there is proof to say he is guilty, we must give him the benefit of the doubt. Theo is right, Lay. I bear no great love for Archmaubaden either, but even the Temple Knights have been unable to uncover a single piece of evidence tying him to the kidnapping. Excuse me. The same knights who have pulled the wool over our eyes for 1,000 years, stripping us of all we own to protect men like him. How heartening that is to hear. I would have thought that after all you'd endured at Archmaubaden's hands, you would stand with us. I see I was wrong. Friends, it would seem the commoner has grown too content under the nobleman's yoke to fight for his ideals. If we are to see justice served, we must do so with our own strength, our own voice. Let us draft a petition, that our grievances might be heard and the blackguard expelled. How can they be so blind? The villain who kidnapped Ula is paying us all for fools, stoking the flames of hatred that we might be consumed by them. I can understand not wanting to condemn the man without solid evidence, but Theo practically threw himself on the bastard's burning pyre back there. And for what? He suffered the most at Archmountbaten's hands. Why does he still try to help him? There's no stopping an angry mob, I fear. I wonder if any of us will emerge from this unscathed. Theo is a man of unwavering principle. That's what I love or admire about him. I wish I too possessed of staunch conviction. If only I could have done more to dissuade him. This blind persecution will only serve to further divide us. And Archmountbaten's expulsion would be a tremendous loss for the Scholasite. Why will no one listen to reason? Theo, there's still time to turn things around, I'm sure of it. I'll help you in any way I can. Thank you, Blase, for your kind words. Indeed, it's not too late to reverse the course of today's events. We should try speaking with Father Saturnus. Surely he knows what to do. Incredible, despite all that he's still intent on saving Archmountbaten. Yo, there's no talking him out of it now. Considering how our last discussion ended, it would put me much at ease if you would accompany us. I shall be staying behind. There are a few things that I would attend to here. My dear Blase, if you would, I could do with an extra pair of hands. In that case, let us make haste to the cathedral. The headmistress meeting will not run forever, and we must catch Father Saturnos before the others do. Forgive me for keeping blasé. I required the aid of someone with a keen eye for detail, and she was the first one that came to mind. I can't bear to see Theo looking so sad. I'd do anything to put a smile back on his face. Father Saturnos, we need to talk to you. It's about Archmountbaten. Father Saturnos, please, we need your help. Theomescent lay, and what brings you here in such a hurry? Ah, mayhap it concerns the petition I just received from the student body. Not to worry, rest assured that I have reviewed the documents and will be submitting it to the headmistress shortly, along with my own strong recommendation in favor of Archmountbaten's immediate and irrevocable irrevocable expulsion from the Scholasite. Wait, Father, we are not here in support of the petition, but rather to argue against it. We cannot rightfully expel Archmountbaten for a crime that the evidence, or lack thereof, suggests he did not even commit. Quite true, and yet it is not because I believe him guilty that I have chosen to move forward with this proposal. Then why? For too long has our church been corrupted by men and women who would see its foundation built upon sin instead of virtue. I mean to put an end to this vicious cycle. What are you saying? Theomet, lay. There is something you must know. When I was young, I too was taken under the wing of Father Castro. It was by his good graces that I gained admission into the scholastic, not unlike yourselves. I devoted myself entirely to my studies, that I might prove myself worthy of his kindness. My dedication was rewarded when I graduated at the top of my class and secured a prized position in the archives, alongside some of the Holy See's most esteemed individuals. It was there that I met the man who would become my closest friend and confidant. For 10 years he had toiled in the sea's darkest recesses, working to see that the ugly truth of Ishgard's past would never see the light of day, until the day that burden grew too great to bear and he took his own life. For years I was torn between grief and anger at not being able to save him from his fate. Fearing my anguish would consume me, I found succor in my religion. Day and night I'd pore over scripture and soon found myself back in these very halls, not as a student, but as a teacher. A tragic story indeed, and you have my condolences for your loss. But what does any of this have to do with Archmobaden? Of the Fury's love will all men receive, and by balance of her spear will all be set free. Doubtless you too are familiar with these words. Those who deny the teachings of Volume 11 commit the greatest sin of all. They must bear full responsibility for the injustices wrought on the victims of our society. Archmobaden has done naught but scorn the truths penned within the tome. His dismissal is long overdue. This is madness. The Fury knows I bear no love for the bastard, but what you propose is to lay blame for generation upon generation of the Church's transgressions at his feet. I do only what must be done. Countless lives were lost in the Dragonsong War. We must needs purge the Church of any who espouse the false ideal that all men are not born equal, that the sins of our past are never repeated, and that the clergy might be restored to their former glory. I have faith in you, my children. Reflect on the teachings of Father Chesier. If you do not understand now, you will soon enough. Is it true that Father Chesier was an ardent advocate of equality, who strove always to adhere to the principles espoused and equal under her ever-watchful gaze? 'Tis equally true that Archmobaden has been outspoken in condemning the selfsame passage. Still, that hardly warrants his expulsion. You must admit the man has a point. Making an example of the son of Ishgard's most prominent houses would send a message, and it just might be the fastest way to bring about the change he seeks. Whether or not that change would be for the better, however, is another matter entirely. It is one thing when it was just an angry mob of Samaritans calling for Archmobaden's head. Now that Father Saturnos intends to lead the charge, it's another matter entirely. Whatever are we to do? But of course, Archmobaden is nothing if not astute. He's sure to have an idea or two on how to extricate himself from his predicament. Come, let us make for the pillars. So that's why Archmobaden hasn't been rampaging about the Skullus, right? Call me crazy, but I almost feel sorry for Lebraster. Yo, what should we do? I've never seen him like this. Leave us, this has nothing to do with you. What baseless accusations would you care to hurl at me this time? Attempting to destroy the church? Or perhaps you're here to bring to light the personal hand I had in instigating the Dragonsong War? Perhaps instead of entertaining every ridiculous rumor you hear, you might actually make yourself useful for once. You can start by questioning those two beside you. After all, they're the ones who arranged this entire farce and have been spreading these letters in a pathetically transparent attempt to incriminate me that I might be expelled. Please listen, Archmobaden. We know that the accusations being leveled at you are unfounded. I know we've had our differences, but today we come to lend you our aid. He's so full of rage, he's scarce to hear a word I say. Please, yo, perhaps you can try soothing him? To think that you would resort to such treachery to secure Theomessen's place as the head of class, ha! Enjoy your piddling triumph while you can. Rest assured that House Desmond will see his debt repaid. Didn't he tell you to leave? Now look what you've done. My bruises won't heal for weeks. Damn. So that's why Archmobaden hasn't been rampaging about the Scholastic. Call me crazy, but I almost feel sorry for Lebraster. Ugh. Ah, don't make me laugh. You expect me to believe that you, the two who would stand to gain the most from my expulsion, have not so much as seen the nonsense that's been making the rounds in the dormitories? The truth revealed, Archmobaden de Decimal kidnapper. Trust me, were we to try to implicate you in a crime you didn't commit, we would have done a far more thorough job than this. Indeed, these writings simply make an appeal to emotion, with not a single piece of concrete evidence to support the accusation. Fine, perhaps it wasn't you two after all. Still, you rest assured that when I get my hands on the commoner that did this, they'll rule the day they thought to meddle with the affairs of House Desmo. You best realize we commoners are not the ones on trial here. You are. I suggest you watch your tongue unless you would prefer to lose the only allies you seem to have these days. Do not lose heart, Archmobaden. Together we'll uncover the truth and see that this baseless petition against you is withdrawn. Ah, why would I need your help? My innocence is beyond question, and the Fury herself will see my good name restored. I pray that she will. In the meantime, we shall do our part. Fury's sake, Theo, leave it be. That aside, where did these papers even come from? And why didn't we receive one? If I had to guess, they were given only to those who most inclined to believe the accusations. Foolish at best. If anything, these letters will only give me the clues I need to identify the coward behind them. As a matter of fact, I believe I know precisely where to begin my search. Brilliant. We would be more than happy to assist you in the investigation. Where would you have us go? And hand you the very knife that you would put in my back? Do you think me daft? If the petition is approved and I am expelled, that would put you right at the top of the class. How very convenient. No, Archbateman, don't you see? It's not for awards or accolades that I study scripture as I do. I seek only to follow in the footsteps of Father Chaucio. It was he who granted me the chance to achieve the grand vision he had for our realm, and bring relief to those in need of spiritual succor. Of the Fury's love will all men receive, and by the balance of her spirit will all be set free. I would share the wisdom of these words with all of Ishgard. Volume 11 of the 72 Articles of Hellenic Polity. What is it with commoners and their obsession with that over-idealistic screed? Come, Archmaiden, let us not waste any further time entertaining the ideal musings of the riffraff. Look, we can manage just fine without your help, but if you do find anything, not that we expect you to, you'll report back to us if you know what's good for you, understood? If I didn't know better, I'd almost say that sounded like a thank you. Well, if there's nothing else to do here, I suppose we should set to work. An excellent idea, Lay. Now, where do you propose we should start? The Fury save us. If Theo wasn't so insistent on helping that bastard, I'd have left him to find his own way out of this mess. Yeah. If we could only track down the author of the letters and convince them to recant these statements, the student body would have no choice but to withdraw their motion. But where would we even search? A brilliant plan, Yo. By examining all the letters that have been distributed throughout this glossite, we may very well find clues leading us to the culprit. It's settled then. Let's return to the glossite and commence our search. It would seem that more than a few of the students tossed the papers in the rubbish without so much as reading them. Thankfully, I was able to scavenge some of the ones that had been thrown away. A few of the Samaritans were generous enough to lend us letters they received. Upon closer examination, it would appear that while the overarching message is the same, the precise arguments may differ from letter to letter. Whatever could this mean? Suspicious letters? What are you talking about? I've not received anything of the sort. Now that you mention it, however, I did observe some Samaritans tossing out crumpled slips of paper. Maybe these are the letters you seek. I wish I could be of more assistance, but I fear that this is the extent of my knowledge. Good luck in your search. Oh yes, in fact, Kramenbox and I have been gathering letters all afternoon. Feast your eyes on this. One of the girls said that the letter just showed up on her bed, as if out of nowhere. I returned to my quarters to check if I had received something similar, but there was nothing to be found. At first I thought it was simple oversight, but after asking around, I learned that there were more than a few others who, like me, had been overlooked. Which leads us to the question, why is it that only certain Samaritans are receiving the letters? What is it they have in common? Theo has already apprised me of the situation, not that he needed to, mind you. It is for that very reason that I remain behind with Blase, to investigate the origin of the nasty rumors flying about. It didn't take too long for us to connect the rumors to the letters and coax one of the Samaritans to show us the document they had received. I investigated further, and behold, these are all the ones I managed to collect in my search thus far. Under normal circumstances, the baseless incentives penned here would hardly suffice to convince anyone. It would seem, however, years of harbored animosity have blinded people to their better judgment. So intense is the hostility towards Archmobaden that Samaritans are desperately searching for any excuse to have him removed from the Scholastite. These letters have provided just that in that worst possible time, and at the worst possible time. Ah, yo, did your search prove fruitful? Excellent. Let us take a close look and see what we can discern. How curious. It would seem our culprit has gone through the trouble of writing and distributing 3 distinctly different versions of the letter. The first reads, as illustrated by the recent abduction that has taken place within these sacred halls. Archmobaden will stop at nothing to eliminate those who stand in his way. Such blatant disrespect of her teachings must not be tolerated. The second says, it's one thing to disagree with the opinions of your fellow Samaritans. It is quite another to abuse one's influence to have your ideological opponents removed. Ula, a firm believer in the teachings of Volume 11 of the articles of Hellenic polity and staunch advocate of equality, fell victim to Archmobaden's treachery. The villain cannot go unpunished. And the last but not least, Ula's copy of Volume 11 was discovered in the prefect's room shortly after the girl's disappearance. This, more than anything, proves beyond the shadow of a doubt that Archmobaden is guilty. While the final letter at least offers an argument, it's hardly a compelling one. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but aren't there several copies of the article of Hellenic polity sitting on our library shelves? While I can't speak to why Archmobaden would have one in the first place, the book found in his quarters could have been any of one of those. Blase, when you spoke with Ula earlier, did she mention anything about Volume 11? I didn't think any of it at the time, but while Ula was recovering in the infirmary, she asked that I retrieve her copy from her room. When I went to look for it, it wasn't there, which would mean the tome was removed unbeknownst to her. So it would seem. After all, she testified that when the two thugs seized her at the marketplace, she had nothing on her person but a pocket of gil. Presumably, the book was still in her quarters then. It would be one thing if the book had disappeared with Ula, but for someone to sneak into her room and remove it after the fact, why, it's as if the culprit intended to use it to frame Archmobaden all along. Why, I'd bet my last skill you're right, and that's the reason none of us received the letter. We're the only people who would be able to confirm with Ula that the book had been pilfered from her room. But who would go to such great lengths to frame Archmobaden? That's our Theo, always striving to help his fellow man, even if that man is all that stands between him and the top of his class. It's enough to leave a girl smitten, isn't it, Blase? What are you talking about? I'm not smitten. I just admire him for his kind heart, is all. Blase. Whenever did she dash? Wherever did she dash? Why ever did she dash off like that? Has she taken ill? In a matter of speaking, I'll go make sure she's okay. Oh dear. Well, whatever it is, I hope she recovers quickly. In the meantime, we need to put our heads together if we hope to figure out this mess. Yo, what do you think? Why would anyone go to such great lengths to implicate Archmobaden? But of course, none save the kidnapper, for him or herself, would have such a strong motive to concoct this convoluted plan. Excuse me. But of course, none save the kidnapper would have such a strong motive to concoct this convoluted plan, which raises the possibility that the kidnapping was not but a plot to save Archmobaden expelled in the first place. In other words, if we can track down the person behind these letters, we'll have ourselves the culprit behind Ula's abduction. We must inform Inspector Barden straight away. He's currently conducting an investigation at the vault, you say? Let us make our way there with all speed. I wish. Yep. Okay. Blase is quicker than she looks. I gave up my search when it became evident I had no chance of finding her, and was just on my way back when lo and behold, who do I see but you three? Ah, a perfect vantage point from here. That's him, over there. Ah, it's you. What brings you all the way here? Do you have something to report? I see. Show me these letters. I shall determine if they are suspicious as you insist. This is everything we've been able to find. The author goes out of his way to mention that Ula's copy of Volume 11 was found in Archmobaden's room. The fool. In his feeble plot to frame the prefect, he has only incriminated himself. I trust that you too have put the pieces together. You have proven an able associate indeed. It is from here, however, that the real work begins. Sure that any time you begin to feel your powers of concentration waver or your attention to detail slip, you need but do this. Take a deep breath and focus your eyes in the distance. In that moment, the solution will appear before you. The game is afoot, and if we intend to win the day, we must remain vigilant. Now, let's get our man. Word. Okay. I think I missed something. Who exactly are we going after? I can see the connection, but how does this help us deduce the identity of the perpetrator? Inspector Brereton truly is amazing. Why, he's cracked the case with little more than scattered scraps of evidence, literally. Time is it? Okay. I'll be right back. I'm gonna take a quick, short break. And I'm back. Before we begin pursuing our man in earnest, answer me this. Can any of you tell me where Ulah's copy of Volume 11 currently is? The letters say it was found in Archmobaden's room, though for all we know, that could be complete and utter bollocks. Yo, I see you've managed to keep your word to Labrassitor. Very good. Allow me to enlighten the rest of you. The tome is currently in my possession. Labrassitor discovered it in Archmobaden's room and turned it over to us in secret, for fear it would fuel the ongoing rumors. Not knowing what to do, it is time to put your minds to the test. What do you surmise the relationship between our talented writer friend and the thief that lifted the book from Ulah's quarters? A sensible deduction. The planting of the brooch in the Archmobaden quarters and the subsequent distribution of these letters were both carried out to a common end, to implicate the prefect in Ulah's abduction and force his expulsion. It would stand to reason that the perpetrators are either working in tandem or in fact are one and the same. While that in itself does not reveal the identity of the culprit, it does lead us to our next question. Who would have been able to enter and exit Ulah's room unnoticed? The perpetrator was able to move quickly and not draw attention to themselves in the act, leading me to believe our book snatcher had easy access to all rooms within the dormitory. How, you might ask? Keys. Something only 3 people currently possess: Father Saturnos and the prefects Archmobaden and the Brassador. So one of them is the culprit, but which could it be? It couldn't be. I know. It was Archmobaden. Think about it. It explains why he was so adamant in refusing our help. But what sense is there in him stealing the book when the only thing it would serve to do is implicate him in a crime he may not have even committed? Then that leaves Labrassor as the only other person aside from the inspector and Yo who came into contact with the book. I'd say he's a prime suspect. It certainly is suspicious, but what motive could he possibly have? If only there was a way we could glean the answer. Yo, I hear you possess a great gift, one which you employ to reveal long-hidden truths about our nation. Might you not be able to use this power to shine some light on the matter at hand? Nope. So it's not yours to control. I guess that means we'll have need to rely on our own wits to obtain the answers we seek. Fortunately, I have an idea of my own, but I'll need your help to see it through. Well then, Theo, let us put this idea of yours into action. Last I heard, Archmobaden and Labrassador have taken refuge in Dasmill Manor. Let's make our way there post-haste. I'll leave it to you to see that the bumblings of those three do not interfere with the final stage of my investigation at the vault. But do not tarry long, with Father Saturnos throwing his full support behind the petition. Archmobaden has but a few bells before his name is permanently struck from the registry. I shall do what I can to see that the proceedings are delayed, but I cannot guarantee it will buy us all the time we need. Godspeed, yo. I'll see you at the hearing. Looks like they're at it again. What are we to do? Again, I wouldn't take this kind of treatment sitting down. Whatever Theo's brilliant plan is, I certainly hope he took this into account. As you can see, Archmobaden and I are discussing important matters at the moment. If you have something to report, pray return later. Findings? Ha, as if anything you four managed to dig up can help me now. The hearing is about to begin. My fate is as good as sealed. There's still time, Archmobaden. Earlier you pledged your innocence to us. Let us pledge it once more. At the hearing, before one and all, the truth shall speak for itself. The truth? You expect those fools to see the truth when this evidence to the contrary is staring them in the face? How do you think this plan your pea-sized minds have concocted will succeed where all Labrassador's best attempts have failed? We will succeed, Archmobaden, for it is not just us that stands with you, but the hero who brought to light the truth behind our very nation. Yes, there is nothing that she has not seen. Surely you understand the implications of this, don't you, Labrassador? Yo has the ability to peer into the events of the past indeed. It was through her visions that Ishgard's true origins were brought to light. You need say no more. She has already used her vaunted powers to see that I was the one behind it all. Yes, it was I who kidnapped Ula. It was I that snuck into her room and stole Volume 11. And it was I that distributed the letters, also that I might implicate Archmobaden. How satisfying it is to finally be able to say it out loud. For so long, I have had to plot my revenge in silence and mask my hatred of you with hollow praise and bashful smiles. But Brassier, what madness is this you speak? You truly are oblivious, aren't you? Then allow me to enlighten you. After all the transgressions your family has committed against mine, did you truly think I would remain loyal to you? For centuries your house has humiliated us. It was something we'd come to accept. But when the wall between the nobility and the common class came tumbling down, we were met with the most narrowing truth of all, that all our suffering had been for naught. Everything we grew up believing about our status was a fabrication, tall tales spun to keep us complacent. In reality, you're no better than the two broom rats beside you. You never were. It was a terrible realization, but one that also gave me hope. Hope that you could be taken down just as any other. That's when I began plotting Ula's abduction. The letters, the rumors they spurred, all was part of my master's plan. To bring shame and dishonor on you and your family, as you have mine. I have staked everything, yes, even my very freedom, but it was worth it to give you a taste of our plan. Brahaha. What's more, I bribed the two kidnappers into abducting Ula with money from your purse, and having entrusted the management of your finances to me, you never suspected a thing. Brassier, I can only imagine the pain you have endured, but to seek revenge in this way. Nevertheless, I thank you for confessing your crimes. Now we can absolve Archmobaden of the false charges brought against him. Wait a minute, you mean that she didn't actually see into the past? You deceived me. If you'll recall, Theo never explicitly said Yo had a vision of what happened to Ula. He merely observed that she possessed an ability. Truth be told, it is not even a power that can be controlled at will. Now then, Archmobaden, I suppose that all the proof of innocence you'll need. Let's escort Brassier to the hearing and have him repeat the most dramatic confession before the headmistress. I never saw it. The hatred, I mean. How could I have been so blind? We'd been friends from childhood, and never for a moment did I question his loyalty. What a fool I was. However did I think I could stand in forefront of our nation when I was so oblivious to that which was happening under my very nose? Archmobaden, pray do not torture yourself so. Rather open your heart and allow Halone's wisdom to set you free. Once you come to see Brassier not only as your friend but as your peer, I promise that the both of you will find a way to mend any bonds that have been broken. Of the Fury's love will all men receive, and by the balance of her spirit will all be set free. You truly believe these words, don't you? You cling to them even when reality does all it can to prove you wrong. I suppose it is that unwavering faith that your friends find so endearing. Now then, it is time for me to put my own faith to the test, and face my fate head on. May the Fury have mercy. So what are we waiting around here for? We've a hearing to attend. I'll meet you two there. There is something I must confirm with the inspector first. Yo, I cannot shake the feeling that This affair runs far deeper than any of us could have imagined. If you would please accompany Archmobade to his hearing and see to it that nothing goes awry in my absence. Cool hat. I must say, Master Lebrasseur, that I am extremely disappointed that anyone, much less a student of our upstanding establishment, would commit such atrocities. I am truly at a loss for words. Headmistress Evelyn, if I may, do you not find the timing of these confessions to be incredibly convenient? It's as if Master Lebrasseur here has been coerced into admitting to crimes he himself didn't commit. Let us not rush to condemn a man who may very well be innocent. We must also keep in mind that this incident will have repercussions that extend beyond this scholastic. Distrust of our own church has never been so high. If we were to expel either one of our prefects, both of whom have strong ties to House Desmond, we will lose any credibility our establishment still has in the eyes of the citizens. To this end, I would propose an alternative plan. We will make a full disclosure of this scandal to the public, together with an announcement that St. Endem's Scholastic will be temporarily closed. It is past time we pushed for a full reformation of the school and its curriculum. Ah, there it is, the confession I've been waiting for. Confession. Master Burden, explain yourself. From the start, I had my suspicions that someone was pulling strings behind the scenes, someone who had secured a high enough position within the clergy to manipulate the students in the system. I pored through records, closely examining any who fit this description. It was no easy task, but I finally found what I was searching for, and combined with the confession the omniscient obtained from Lebrasseur, I was able to uncover the true culprit. I speak of you, Saturnos, and I do not recall you, Father, for you are no priest. And I do not call you Father, for you are no priest. The documents admitting you into your current position were all forged. You manipulated Lebrasseur into carrying out what you yourself could not. You stirred up discord among the students and fomented the people's distrust of the clergy in hopes of creating an even greater rift between the people of Ishgard and the clergy, all in the hopes of seeing the Scholastic closed down once and for all. But I don't understand. Why would Father Saturnos seek the ruin of the Scholastic? The answer to that would lie in his past. Over a decade ago, Saturnos graduated top of his class and was welcomed into the ranks of the Holy See. It was there he was assigned to work as an expurgator. Expurgator? What are you talking about? In all my years serving the Holy See, I've never heard of such a post. It would be more I would be more surprised if you had a holy body of decency, a sector that is comprised of a few select individuals, is perhaps the best kept of Ishgard's many secrets. Its existence is only known to a handful of people besides the Archbishop himself. I am impressed, Master Brereton. It would seem your reputation is well deserved, though I must correct you on one account. I am no expunger, but rather one of these so-called watchmen coincide to guard them. That said, we shared a similar fate. Both expurgator and watchmen alike were struck from official records and confined in the bowels of the Holy See, damned to live our lives in the shadows, as pallid husks of the men and women we could have been, also that someday we might fulfill one task. Where written records were deemed too dangerous, expurgators would serve as living documents, orally passing down our nation's greatest secrets. When the time came for the Archbishop's successor to ascend to the throne, we would briefly emerge from our isolation to pass from our mouths to their ears all we knew of Ishgard before sinking back into obscurity. Interesting. Of course, no highborn man or woman would be condemned to this fate. No, this was a destiny reserved for the commoners, orphans with no ties to the world above. 7 hells. So if the truth hadn't come to light, Theo and I, men and women forced to sacrifice their own lives, that our nation's darkest secrets might be preserved forever unbeknownst to our people. I can scarce believe my ears. Father Saturnos, this friend you spoke of. Yes, he was an expurgator. Such anguish did his duties cause him that he chose death over the wretched excuse for a life. And while a new era is upon us, one that does not condemn the innocent to a life of despair for the sake of one man, it does not undo the injustice of 1,000 years. It was to right the wrongs of the past that I escaped the foul dungeon and made my way back to the place where it all began. This twisted institution, the place responsible for stealing the bright futures of young orphans, needs to be closed down for good. Father Saturnos, your actions are heinous, and I can in no way condone them. That said, if there is truth to what you say, perhaps it would be best for us to suspend all lessons until we can reach a consensus as to how we might proceed. But Headmistress Elvina would not closing down these stalactites be akin to evading our responsibility as men and women of the clergy? It is our duty to speak the truth, not bury it. For too long the people have been fed naught but lies. It is time we took the initiative and gave them reason to put their faith in us once more. I must agree with Theo Messon. As I have learned firsthand, we must take care never to abuse our power and privilege, lest we hurt the people closest to us. To keep silent would be to repeat the mistakes of our past. The only way we can move forward is to take responsibility for our actions and make an earnest effort to reach out to those who we have wronged. While we may never receive forgiveness, at least we can attempt to atone for any anguish we may have caused those that did not deserve it. If it is true that all men are born equal, as I have heard so many in this room preach time and time again, then all are entitled to know the truth. Let us lead by example and freely share all that we have learned here today. Father Saturnos, while I cannot pretend to understand your ordeal or soothe the fury that has taken hold in your heart, I can promise you one thing. I swear on Father Chosu's copy of the parables of Saint Danfinin that not you or any of those who shared your fate will ever again be forgotten. Thus all was laid bare before a public, the atrocities suffered by the executor and watchmen alike, along with oh, that's way too fast for me to read. So it was a new battle. Theo is a born detective. He told me that he went to speak with the inspector because he thought it suspicious that Father Saturnos was pushing so hard to have Archmobaden expelled. Sure enough, it turned out that he was the one pulling the strings all along. While I'm glad this ordeal is finally behind us, I cannot help but feel as though we lost one of our own. We share these same origins as Father Saturnos, and would have shared the same fate had it not been for you. Yo, thank you for restoring peace to the stalactite. You have reminded us that there is a world beyond these doors that relies as much upon us as we do them. You have opened our eyes and shown us that destiny is but the choices we make. If we are strong enough, or if we are strong and persevere, I have no doubt we can rebuild the stalactite and regain the people's trust. Yo, now that your work here is done, I suppose the time for farewells is upon us. Will you be departing Ishgard immediately? It's sad to say farewell, but let's send you and your inspector off in style. And the inspector off in style. Ah, there is my trusted associate. I feared I might not be able to bid you a proper farewell before I left. On behalf of my uncle, allow me to thank you for all your hard work. There's still so much fighting and bickering going on. Couldn't you stay with us just a bit longer? I fear that there are more pressing mysteries that demand my attention, not to mention a certain young lady in Olda who awaits my return. Oh, another client of yours, I take it. Theo, is your head screwed on backwards? He's talking about his tactless fools, the both of you, but I suppose you're nothing if not sincere, eh, Theo? And while I'll admit that naivety is one of your more endearing traits, combined with the blunderings of the idiot beside you, it's not like it's not like as not to bring the sly sight to ruin. That's why you'll need someone with extensive knowledge of the affairs of Ishgard and the proper connections to actually bring about the change you seek. Someone like me. The words of a man looking to steal his way into our dear Theo's heart. Ha! Blase, lay, it seems you've got competition. The fury take you all. Call me what you will. Theo would never replace me with anyone, much less a conniving snake like Archmobaden. Ah, how refreshing it is to hear your such playful banter among my friends. It would seem our worries are finally behind us. Before we celebrate, however, there is one last thing. Blase, I'd like to thank you for your support. Were it not for your meticulous notes and sharp eyes, Ula would still be missing. Yo, Inspector, words are not enough to express our gratitude. It was only because of you that we were able to unmask the perpetrator and restore peace to our school. Just as Father Cheshire brought you to us in Gorgane Mills, I cannot help but feel Halone guided you to us in our time of need. We hope to one day repay the kindness you have shown us by rebuilding the Scolostite. When next you visit, we hope she will have retaken her place as the nation's top establishment of higher learning, and once again serve to light the people's way back to the halls of Alone. Our fair nation has seen her fair share of tragedy and turmoil, but I take heart in knowing that there are those such as yourself to watch over her, and see that she does not stray from her course. Till we meet again. A nice story. Lately, one of the seniors who had made it his life's mission to observe and criticize everything I do has become almost cordial. Where before I would have to endure one-sided lectures, now we have actual conversations. I must say this change has made me more receptive to what we have to say, and every day my respect for him grows. The history we were taught growing up was all a lie. The priest and mentor I had come to respect the most was a fraud. The Braster was never loyal to the Dismals, and now Archmalbaden and Theomessin are practically joined at the hip. It's as if the world's gone mad, but perhaps a little madness was just what I needed, for all these changes have made me realize how narrow-minded and set in my own ways I was. From now on, I shall endeavor to be more accommodating and accepting of others' ideas and opinions. Ah, if it isn't Yo, what brings you back to our halls? It's out of concern that you've decided to pay a visit. Allow me to put your worries to rest. The Scolossite has never been better, ever since Theo and Archmalbaden set aside their differences and learned to work together. The students have been able to freely express their opinions without fear of retribution. It's opened up the floor for some very interesting conversations, to say the least. I paid a visit to Labras, or soon after he was escorted off Scolossite grounds by the Temple Knights. He refused to even acknowledge my presence. It will take a great deal of time for me to regain his forgiveness, it seems. In the meantime, I shall do what I can to see the Scolossite's reputation is restored. Together with Theo, I feel we will be able to pave the path forward to a brighter future for all Samaritans here. Ever since the inconsistencies in Ishgar's history, the Church's teachings were brought to light. I feared it to be the end of an era, and by extension the Scolossite. Yo, I cannot tell you how wrong I was. If anything, our fine establishment flourished in the aftermath, and with the help of our dedicated students, will continue to do so. Ah, Madame Sun, to what do we owe the pleasure? The students will no doubt be delighted to see you, so if you feel so inclined, please take the time to go and speak with them. Ah, all those who had a hand in the recent disturbances are currently in Temple Knight's custody and are awaiting trial. I can only hope that they will use this time wisely and reflect upon their conduct. Saturnos especially need do so. While there is no denying the grave transgressions committed by our institution, or the hardships he endured, that does not make his actions any more acceptable. Not only did he cause undue distress, but he has tainted the mind of one of our most promising students. He is the one who exacerbated Lebrasier's growing discontent, which he then used to achieve his own ends. Furthermore, we recently reviewed news that Saturnos attempted to escape from his holding room, wounding several guards in the process and adding to his crimes. While some may argue that he too is a victim driven past the brink of sanity and must not be prosecuted so harshly, others are not so lenient. Unfortunately, there is no easy answer to any of this. It seems all we can do at this point is await the results of his trial. Should by some miracle his sentence be reduced and he demonstrates his willingness to truly rededicate his life to the Fury, Theomessin and a few other Samaritans have announced their intention to welcome Saturnos back to the Scolossite. It is a day I sincerely look forward to. Okay. Recently, Blase and I started talking again. After opening up to her about how much her silence hurt me. We reconnected, and now our friendship is stronger than ever. There's just one teensy problem, you see. Theo Messon is completely oblivious to how Blase feels about him, but she's too shy to admit anything. The two of them are so frustrating to watch. Thanks to you, the teachings of Volume 11 are closer than ever to being achieved. The misfortunes we encountered here at the Sklasgate was the catalyst we needed to bring about the necessary change, and I can say with confidence was Halone's will. Yo, how goes your adventures? Since I last saw you, I've had a few of my own, all of which have involved keeping Theo out of trouble. The only good thing about having Archmo baiting around is that he somehow manages to sense trouble before it happens. Welcome back, yo. You won't believe how much the Sklasgate has changed. The somber atmosphere that covered over the Sklasgate has been replaced by radiant joy, and not a single day goes by that these halls aren't filled with the jubilant laughter of Samaritans. Oh, yo, with everyone working so well together to make this Sklasgate a better place, Theo has never been happier. His smile grows more radiant by the day, and with each passing week I come to look or admire him all the more. Yo, how wonderful of you to come visit. We've been working to reform the foundation of our current school system and curriculum, and things here have seen great improvement. Every day I feel as though I'm moving a step closer to achieving my dreams and bringing about the change Father Chaucer had hoped Ishgard would one day embrace. Okay. Well, I think that's gonna do it for this stream. Good place to stop. Thanks for watching. You can catch me on YouTube, same handle, Y4Arts, and yeah, subscribe, follow, all that good shit. Thanks for watching. And even if it's just a view and you don't do any of that, thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.